Hello and welcome to our video review of the Google Nexus 5. Now the Nexus 5 has been out for over a month now. However, I've been using this device as my personal device for a month to get a really good feel for it, to really understand its ins and outs. And so while this video review might seem a touch late to some, I think I've now got the best handle on the device to give it a real proper going over and give you the pros and cons of the Nexus 5 as I see it. Right, I've got the box here, so I'll just put the device to one side. The box confirms the LTE connectivity of the Nexus 5. LTE missing from last year's Nexus 4, so it's really good to see it on the Nexus 5. It gives it support now and really future-proofs the device for high-end users. And the box contents, aside from the device which is over there now, we have the SIM tray pin. Don't lose that, it's quite useful. And as well as some paperwork, we also have a mains charger, which will be suitable for your area. UK here, as we're selling UK stock. And a micro USB data cable. There's no headphones in there, just the charger and USB cable. Must be a decision from Google to lower the initial cost of the device, the box cost of each unit. But really, most people have got a set of headphones hanging around, and usually the ones you get with phones tend to be of lower quality. So, not really an issue. So, the device itself, the Nexus 5. Design-wise, it's very basic, it's quite utilitarian. There's not really much going on here. This is the front, so put down in front here, it's just really a black slab. There's nothing special about it. It's quite no frills. The screen takes up most of the front face. There's quite a thick bezel on the bottom. Some may say that Google may have been able to reduce the size somewhat here, especially considering the UI buttons are all within Android, so there's no soft keys here to be pressed. This chunk at the bottom here is quite dead space, and having seen something, for instance, like the G2 from LG, also manufactured by LG, like the Nexus 5, with an incredibly thin bezel all the way around and a screen that really pops out at you, that dead space, maybe they could have done something with that, made that a little bit thinner, a little bit more exciting. Edging, we've got a soft matte edging all around the handset and also on the back. So last year's Nexus 4 had a glass back with a kind of shiny holographic edge to it. I've not got one here, unfortunately, to show at the same time. It looked really cool, and it was undoubtedly a Nexus 4 when you looked at one. However, it had a tendency to crack, and also transferred quite a lot of heat. So LG Google have gone for the matte plasticky finish on the back. Not entirely sure what material this is made out of, some kind of composite material, but it's softer in the hand, and also makes the phone lighter. So it's easier to hold than the Nexus 4, so you don't get the heat transfer, it's not quite as slippy, it also doesn't slide around as much. That matte surface gives it a bit more friction when it's on a flat surface. The glass back of the 4 used to slide everywhere. I mean, you could put it down and I'd put it on what I thought was a flat surface, and a few minutes later it would slide away and fall off things. So much better choice going with the matte back there. The buttons, we've got the volume rocker and the power button. They're ceramic. I feel perhaps they're a little bit loose in the casing. Maybe this is just the finish on this particular model. Maybe I'm being a little bit too picky with the one that I've got here. For me, they don't feel like they're finished to a seriously premium standard as you might expect on a much more expensive device. But they're functional, they feel nice, they suit the look of the device, they stand out from the ceramic edging and they catch the light. Yeah, good. And there is the SIM tray as well. I'm not going to pop that open. Top, we've got the 3.5mm headphone jack, and on the bottom we've got the micro USB and 2 speaker grills. Unfortunately, actually only one of these has a speaker behind it. It's mono sound out of one of these grills. I think it's this one here on the right. Nothing comes out of the other one. And this placement, I have to say, is ridiculous. Constantly end up muting it. If you've got the phone like this, portrait style, it's okay, but the sound is being chucked out at the bottom of the phone, so it feels quite muted. And the second you turn it this way, landscape, and you're watching a movie or playing a game, look at my finger, look where it is. It's almost certainly going to be covering. If I'm holding it like that, I've covered the whole speaker, I've muted all the sound. If I hold it, I have to think about it. I shouldn't have to really think about where I'm putting my hand and my finger to stop covering the sound. Yeah, it's just a silly positioning, really. It's not a major flaw with the device, but you get used to it. After a month, I've now kind of automatically ended up curving my finger around the back when I hold it, but it's just something I shouldn't have to do, really. The speakers should either be front mounted or rear mounted, as far as I'm concerned. If they're rear mounted, you kind of end up cupping your hand and amplifying it. If they're front mounted, like the HTC One range, you get incredible sound. It's just a silly place to put it. So that's the design. It's quite, as I said, quite basic, similar in size and weight to, say, a Galaxy S4 or as the LG G2 I mentioned briefly earlier, but it's just a little bit unexciting overall. The HTC One came out this year and kind of blew everyone's minds with its design and its look. It looks fantastic. Sony have had the Xperia Z range, which are all square angles and this side-mounted circular power button. Design languages from most of the devices coming out this year from the major manufacturers have been, they've been unique, they've been stylized, they've said something about the look and feel of the product that the Nexus range kind of doesn't. It's quite boring, it's no frills, which to be expected with a price of, well, $299 for the 8 gig from the Play Store. You can't really argue with that too much, that there's nothing fancy in the design. It is really what you pay for, a utilitarian handset, very basic in terms of what's installed on it, but very powerful, and you make what you get, you make the most out of it. Now, going into the device itself, taking a look, the screen is excellent. It's almost 5 inches, it's 4.95 inches, really marketed as 5, fits with the naming. Really bright, really good colours. I put it next to my old Nexus 4 and there's a definite improvement. It holds its own with the Samsungs, with the HTCs. If you see this in a store next to other live devices, a higher price bracket, this looks like it plays with them well. It sits well with them. It looks like a contender. It doesn't look like a cheaper device, and it's got the full HD screen to help with that. It's got the good color depth. It's got the brightness. The viewing angles, not perfect, but probably still better than the Xperia Z range, which have been knocked recently for their viewing angles. So all in all, first impressions of the screen are good, and after you take some time with it, playing some games, watching some videos, excellent quality, really excellent. Now into Android 4.4 itself, this is the new Experience launcher. You can see these are my home screens. I've got 4.3 Jelly Bean on the Moto G here. So now I'm both using the new Experience launcher. However, 4.3, if you have a look on the bottom of the device here as I slide across, I get stuck at one edge of the home screens, and I get a total of 5, and I get stuck at the other end. And of course I can add more if I fill them up and I want to add more pages to those home screens, and I get the 4 icons down here. Now with a higher resolution screen on the 5, I've still maxed out at 4.4 grid in terms of my app shortcuts, which means the apps icons themselves, the shortcuts, are a lot bigger you get on the Experience as you do on others. We've seen other phones such as I say, the Z range from Sony. They've gone with keeping the icon resolution the same, so with a bigger screen with a higher resolution you get a lot more icons on it. Google have decided against that with the Android, so they're keeping it 4x4. It keeps it almost a unique Android experience. I say this is the Experience launcher. If you have a stock Android device or a device that is very close to stock, it'll kind of look the same across the devices. It might look a bit bigger on the bigger devices, kind of each icon being bigger, but you still get the same 4x4 experience. So that's that, and you'll see here I have home screens only to the amount of app icons I have. If I want a new screen, I can throw onto a new screen, but the second I take that away, that screen isn't left there with dead space like it is on the old Jelly Bean. So if I removed all these apps, so I had no screens whatsoever, I would just have the one home screen. And also Google Now has been integrated into the home screens. So if I go to the very left, I get Google Now. I've got no cards on here because I've got no network connection in this room at the moment. This can be turned off. If you don't want Google Now on your home screen, you can remove it in the settings here at the bottom. You go to settings, you pop up the settings and you switch Google Now off. You've got the option to turn off your location history at the same time. If we turn off, it turns off Google Now, removes it from the home screen, but that is turning off Google Now. You are now losing all of your Google Now functionality. So all of the extra search algorithms and the extras that Google have done in the background this year in improving Google Now and delivering more personalized search results, the second you turn it off to get it off your home screen, you've lost it. You're down to basic search. So it's a trade-off there. It's an all or nothing approach. If you want the benefits of Google Now, you're going to have it on your home screen. And to get that back, you need to go into settings. This is going to test whether or not I remember where it's stored. Is it in more and search? No. It's probably in... It's not in location. I expect it's in apps. I did struggle to find it last time. I've actually forgotten where to find it. I will remember, and I might add a little bonus square box at the top of this video at some point when I remember exactly where to find it. Right, it's going to take me a second too long to get that, so I'll leave that alone for now. Other things with 4.4 that have been included are available from the settings menu. We have, if we go into more settings here, we have the default SMS app. So you have the ability to choose which one of these is your default SMS. The standing messaging app has gone from Android now. So Hangouts is being used in place. So when you first get the device, this is a third party here that I've installed, you will only have Hangouts available for your SMS messages. It works, it's functional, it's not the best messaging app in the world. You have, for instance, threads from your actual Hangouts messages and your SMS messages are separated rather than in one clean thread for that single contact. Competitor things such as iMessage on the iPhones series and range, they do that, whereas Hangouts doesn't. Hopefully Hangouts will get improved as Google updates it and progresses with it. At the moment, it's not perfect. You can, of course, install a third party, as I've done here. There's plenty of third party messaging apps out there available. Scroll a bit further down, Android Beam showing us our NFC capabilities. And if we go into display, there's our wireless display option. You can search for available wireless displays. So that is Miracast. It's the Wi-Fi Direct Miracast extension. So if you've got a TV with Miracast built in or a Miracast dongle connected to your TV, you can throw the screen content from the Nexus onto that secondary display. It was included on Android 4.3 actually, although very few devices made use of it. There has been an updated focus on tap and pay, NFC contact tap and pay. At the moment it throws you by default to a Google splash page, which isn't going to load because I've got no network here. Basically explains that you can do tap and pay contactless payments via NFC, and if you have a tap and pay NFC wallet installed, such as Google Wallet or perhaps something from your credit card provider, your bank, anything that manages your payments and is compatible with NFC, it allows you to set it up through this settings option and manage it from there. And we also have a printing option here. It's mostly been used through HP. HP have written a full plugin. So modern wireless printers developed by HP pretty much should all be accessible directly out of the box. And also there's a cloud print option here, so any printer that you've registered with Google's cloud print servers, you should be able to access as soon as you've signed into your Google account and you come through here. So printing directly from your phone should be a lot easier than it has been in the past. So that's that. Now onto the actual performance function of the device. We are running, as I believe I mentioned earlier, the Snapdragon 800 processor, which is part of the reason why we've got a full range of LTE connectivity. That is currently the most advanced mobile chipset on the market. It is a 2.3 gigahertz quad-core processor. It's got the Adreno 330 graphics unit in it, which means effectively alongside the Xperia Z Ultra, Xperia Z1 and the Galaxy Note 3 from Samsung, this is the most advanced capable device on the market in terms of multitasking and playing high quality games, decoding video. It's the fastest you can get, and considering the price, as I said earlier, $299 for the 8GB version, it's an incredible power to price ratio. It really is. The other devices I just mentioned are at least £200 more. So yeah, one of the most powerful and best devices you can get. All that means, when you're navigating through Android, there's never a hint of slowdown. There's never any lag, any stuttering, any judders. It really is smooth operation. I have had the odd freeze up. I'm not sure. I haven't had one now for a couple of weeks. In my written review, which this video review will be placed on, I did mention that there were some stutters and some freezes which happened about once a week and happened 3 or 4 times. Those are gone now. I don't know if there's been an update in the background that I didn't realize about, or whatever I was doing that was causing them to happen, really possibly just pushing the device to its absolute limits while I was testing it. I've stopped doing that now. I'm not sure. I'm pretty confident that it was teething problems, and it was the newest build of Android, and they've ironed out the bugs now with some background updates. I see a lot of updates coming through in my notification bar, so hopefully that's all been cleared up. So for the last few weeks, it's been absolutely flawless. The only real downside I can say about the Nexus 5 is the camera. Going into the camera application here, now you can get some very nice images. It's quite a shame actually that the application, the camera app I've just opened here, is very poor. That's the only way to put it. It is a poor application. If you've played with HTCs or Samsungs or Sonys, as I keep mentioning, the big 3 manufacturers, they spend a lot of time on their applications, and you get a lot of options. There's a lot of settings that can be changed, and they're usually very responsive. You can generally have quite a good experience taking pictures on them and playing with them. The app on the Nexus 5 is very poor. The biggest gripe I had is with the settings. To access the settings, you have to push the screen and they appear, and now I have to keep my finger on the screen whilst I select options, and if I want more options I have to go up to the next track and see what those options are. It's all a bit, quite frankly, it's just all a bit stuffy. It's just difficult to use. It's fiddly. There aren't that many settings and options available either. So things like ISO, white balance, simply just being able to play with the device and the camera settings and attempt to get a better shot, it's just not there. You're stuck pretty much with an automatic mode and the ability to use HDR, or HDR Plus as they call it. HDR Plus allows for a number of pictures to be taken at once, and then those are run through some of the software, post-processing software, and you get the best color range really that you can. Does make for some very nice pictures if you hold the phone steady and you're able to focus well, and you can put up with what is, well, quite frankly, a long shutter lag as well –. between pressing the button and taking a picture every now and again. you can get good results. I'm not knocking the actual final quality of the images. It's an 8 megapixel camera with optical image stabilization, and if you battle through this application, you can get some really decent results. But yeah, this app is just not very good. There aren't really also that many third-party camera applications available. Most of the camera apps you get on other phones are locked down. They're the property of the manufacturer, so the Sony app, the Samsung app, the HTC app, etc. Those aren't available for download from the Play Store or from a third party anywhere. You might find them, APKs for them available somewhere that you might be able to sideload, but they're not officially available. So yeah, it's one side shame about the device, but that's one of very few things that's difficult to really knock about it. Really, the superficial aspects of the design and that application, which is only one application really, are the only real downsides to it. Aside from that, you've got a fantastic, high-speed, powerful device with a brilliant screen for very little money. It really is one of the best options available. I mean, if you're looking at a flagship phone now, if you're looking at either upgrading or you're buying a brand new phone, or you're coming to your end of your contract and it's the next time up, then you really should have the Nexus 5 in your list. It should be sat next to any other phone you're looking at, and you really weigh up, is the extra money I'll be paying for one of the major manufacturers, is that worth it? Are there features on that phone that I really want that I can't get on the Nexus? Or is the saving in cost from the Nexus going to outweigh those extra features? That really is the decision to be made. So this phone should be on your list if you're looking at a new phone. Absolutely. There we are. Thanks for watching.